I promised my Jesuit brothers this morning that I would not tell the joke about the three wise men and their gifts of frankincense and gold and myrrh. And 10 minutes after they arrived, the wiser women arrived with gifts of food and diapers and blankets. But I promised I wouldn't tell that joke. There is a Jesuit philosopher at Gonzaga University, and he also teaches religion. So he gets his first-year religion students, and he always starts every class the same way. He starts by saying to them, you know, religion is not rocket science. It's way more complicated than that. Religion is not rocket science. It's far more complicated than that. And one of the reasons he's saying that is that religion is a rocket science is atoms and molecules and chemical reactions. They have laws that they follow, but religion is about human people. It's about human beings. And there's nothing more complicated and complex than human persons and human reality. It's far more complex, vastly more complex than rocket science. And one of the reasons, of course, is because the complexity of humans as opposed to molecules is that human beings, we look at a person, we come into their presence and we respond to them, but you're responding to me. And now I'm responding to you, responding to me, to you responding to me responding to you responding to me responding. And that never stops for human beings. There's no reality that is more complex than the human reality. And so what this teacher is trying to do with his first-year religious students is to help them to move past some of the prejudices that we Americans kind of tend to carry around about religion. The first one being, he's trying to get them past the idea to think that religion is simple, that religion should be simple and easy. And so part of what he's trying to say is religion is about mysteries. It's about the greatest mysteries in life, about which we can know something. But a mystery means there will always be more questions. We can't possibly come to the end of our answers. Religion is not just simple and easy. And here you are, he's basically saying to these first-year students, here you are in college and you're taking classes in biology and all these classes in history and education, and you're convinced that you need to learn about them in order to be a good person. But do you have the same attitude toward religion? That you need to read books, that you need to inform yourself about your faith, that you need to study? That it will take thinking and asking questions and following questions? So he's trying to get them to realize that living a faith life is not like falling off a log. And it takes all of our being in order to be able to do that well. He's also trying to convince students that religion, real religion, true religion, is not simply about being addicted to certainty. I've got my 5 things, and religion is just it's totally clear. All the issues are clear because I've got my religious principles, and so everything's clear and everything's straight lines. There's no gray areas and everything. And he's trying to convince them, no, that's not real religion. It's not being about addicted to certainty. Being truly religious means entertaining wonder and questions about mystery, following that and learning, going deeper and deeper in the mystery that will never get to the bottom of our whole lives. It's not about being addicted to certainty. We religious people have certain things. We have a collection of things that we're pretty certain about, and that's just fine. But we have to keep the rest of our minds open to more information, to better learning, to wider viewpoints. Religion is not rocket science. Oh no, it's way more complicated than that. And of course, one of the other things he's trying to do is to get his students to realize that religion is not about trying to go backwards and live in a world that doesn't exist. It's not about trying to go back in time to a world that doesn't exist anymore and live there. That's not what Catholicism means universal. What Catholicism has always done is taken whatever the culture and the society of that time offers it, and they reach up to something higher, which is the integration of everything that's true and real and good about that culture into our faith. Christianity, Catholic means universal, and that means all truth and all goodness belongs to God and belongs to the church. And we have to find a way to embrace it and to bring it together with our faith. We're critical, we toss out some things, but some things we have to bring in. It's not about going backwards to live in a time that doesn't exist anymore. It's about reaching up to the level of the time we live in. So he's a very good religion teacher. He's very much about what our gospel is about this morning, because this is the Epiphany, and what we have in the Epiphany is the following of the star. And of course, the star is something that people could see from anywhere and everywhere. It's about religion and its universal, its ways of being universal. And one of the ways that religion is universal is that we follow the star. Everybody ends up following a star who wants to be truly religious and truly human, who wants to be truly human, must find a way to follow a star. So 37%, I think it is, of Americans, if you ask them are they're religious, they will say, oh no, I'm spiritual, but I'm not religious. Now, what do people mean when they say that? What they mean is, I have this desire, this drive and this thirst inside of me, this pull towards a richer and a fuller life, a life that is, there's something, there's a richness and a fullness to it, but I can't explain it. I couldn't get it into words to you to explain why and how that happens, but I know what it feels like to be pulled towards it. And so those 37% who say they're not religious, they're following a star. They may not know it, but they're following a star. And they're religious in the universal way of being religious. Because who put the desire in their hearts? They're following a desire for something richer and fuller, but they didn't decide to have the desire in the first place. Who put it there? And so we Catholics, we Christians know that that's God's sharing God's life with everybody. In the hearts of everyone, God has already shared his life with everyone. And so there's a pull within all people towards a richness and fullness, towards more, towards following a star, towards mystery. Some people find their star by finding their direction in life. Some people get in life and they realize that it definitely goes in a direction, but they also realize it's a direction that can be lost, or it's a direction that can be found. And so they begin to search for the direction that their life is going in. They don't want to lose the direction of their life, they want to find it. They start to search for it, and they follow the star that way. But they're just following a star. And there are people who take the Ignatian, the Ignatian Jesuit way of St. Ignatius. Maybe they've had a brush with Ignatian spirituality, and they realize that it's what St. Ignatius said is, you must find your deepest desire. No, not that desire. No, not that one. No, dig down below the false desires and the desires created by the culture, the desires that are not authentic. No, find the deepest desire that you have. Go deeper until you touch the deepest desire that you have. And that desire cannot be in conflict with the desire of God for you, because that's where God is desiring through your desires and dreaming through your dreams and wanting through your wants. But the trick is to find the deepest desire and begin to ask God for that deepest desire that you have to have God's help to do. And when one does that, finds their deepest desire, they're just following a star. They just start to follow a star. And so we all have a way of finding our star. There are lots of ways to get there. One of the ways that's so contradictory about our lives is we find something and we realize, I would give my life for this. A woman has a little baby. She picks up the baby for the first time and she hears inside of herself, she hears herself say, I would die for you. It just comes to her spontaneously, I would die for you. And she's found something she would give her life to. And that's when she starts to really live. When she finds something she would die for, she starts to really live. She's just following a star. The Canadian philosopher reads Bernard Lonergan, the great Jesuit theologian who spent 15 years reaching up to try to understand economics according to a Christian viewpoint. He reads his work and he says, well, this would take 150 years for this Christian approach to economics to actually transform the crazy economics of our society. This would take 150, maybe 200 years. But he says to himself, this is worth a life. And he starts to study, and he starts to understand, and he starts to talk, and he starts to write 15, 20 books. He says, this is worth a life. When he finds something that's worth a life, he's following a star. So we all have to find the star. There's in Minnesota, the Catholic Conference of Minnesota has declared since 1916, I think it is, that this day, Epiphany, is dedicated to immigrants because every immigrant is following a star. They've given up their home, their homeland, people that they love, often families. Often they've given up sacred ground, the ground that their loved ones are buried in, that's holy ground to them. They've gone to another place for something better. They're following a star. And this Minnesota where they have declared this to be immigrants, also dedicated to immigrants this Sunday. They send out these exercises that people can do. And one of them is to start to everybody tell stories about their immigrant ancestors, about their present immigration or the past immigration of their ancestors, because nobody in this room would be here if somebody in their past hadn't followed a star. Nobody be here. Somebody followed a star in our past. Our ancestors followed a star, or we wouldn't be here. So we all have to find a way to follow our star. There are 3 regrets that human beings have, and it especially shows up towards the 3rd act of your life. And I'm in that 3rd act. There's a few of you I can tell have been through the rinse and the spin cycle once or twice here. And you're in the 3rd act of life too. But especially when you get there are 3 different regrets that touch our lives. One is the regret, we regret the memory of things that we did wrong. We wish we had done another way. There's also the regret of the things that we had a chance to do and we wish we'd have done, we didn't take it, but we wish we'd have done better. But then there was a 3rd regret. And that 3rd regret is the regret that we never followed our star. We never followed our dream. There was a star that kept rising into the sky of our lives. We kept seeing it, we kept feeling it, and we knew there was something there calling us to follow, and we kept saying, yes, I'll get to that, but not right now. I need a couple of years, I need a decade, I need a couple of months, but I'm going to get back to that. And it kept rising, and it kept rising, and we kept seeing the star, and we kept seeing the dream, and we wanted to follow the dream, and we never did it. And that is an incredible regret that people of my age can have. And it's not because we've sinned against God, because there's no commandment of God that we must follow our dream, our star. But the regret will be that we have sinned against us. We have sinned against ourselves because there was a dream. There was a star that kept rising in our skies, and it kept telling us to follow it. And we kept putting it off, and we never followed it. And we don't know whether if we had followed it, it would amount to some increase in the kingdom of God, some enrichment and deepening of the kingdom of God for other people. We won't know. And so this is a Sunday when I think we can all take a few moments to, what do we come here for? I think one of the reasons we come here for is because we can see this, we can see the star from here. From here, we can see the star. And we can start to orient the direction of our lives by that star. We can get our bearings because we can see it from here. And then we can begin to journey on towards God, towards what God has for us and for our way of integrating the gifts that we have into the people of God and into the world to make this a better place. And so let's come to this. Let's come to the altar today. And let's get our bearings. Let's find the star. Let's look up and get a good look at the star of our lives and start to go in that direction again.